Well, hello, welcome to the stream, my customers, my fellow compatriots. How you guys doing? I'm going to be doing a quick audio test, so don't mind me. As soon as this decides to wake up. Okay, there we go. 1 second. My fellow compatriots. Okay, there we go. How's the music? It seems a wee bit quiet, if I do say so myself. How's that? Yeah, I mean, that looks fine to me. That's fine. It's low enough. Anyways, welcome back. Welcome back to the webcam, the deck techs, all the goodies, everything that we love to see here. Anyways, today we're going to be talking about more One Piece stuff, as you can tell. Specifically, a physical deck that I actually have put together here. And, I don't know. I'm just going to say that it's probably not, like, the best. It's pudding. Unfortunately, man, I really like the concept of this deck. I'm a simple man. You know, it really doesn't take a whole lot. You know, big dumb swings is really my forte in a lot of card games, not just, you know, One Piece in general. I just like casting big stuff, swinging for big numbers, big stupid strategies, you know, decks that I can turn my brain off with are essentially what I like to play. Surprisingly enough, purple and yellow both do that amazingly well together. I think they're a great combination. And I've even thought about maybe sometime in the future building a yellow-purple crocodile list. Unfortunately, though, in set 10, I believe, we're going to be getting Eustace Captain Kidd, the mono-yellow Captain Kidd. And honestly, Captain Kidd is basically doing the crocodile thing, but just better and with an extra life, technically. So I might just end up doing Kidd, but either way, we're not talking about that. We're talking about our fair maiden pudding, Charlotte Pudding, with, you know, exceptional art. If I can get like the actual, there we go, look at that absolute Vogue model right there. What set was this in? This was set 8. Yeah, that says 8. When set 8 came out, all their alt arts, well, specifically 3. There was Marco, King, and Pudding. Those 3 alt arts for their leaders, gorgeous people. Like, honestly, you can put these images on a magazine, like on a legitimate like fashion magazine, and I don't think anybody would actually bat an eye at it. Like, that's just how like photogenic these characters look in their alt arts. So that was probably the biggest draw for me, is the fact that she looks the way she does. That she looks so good. Very photogenic and stuff like that. Secondly, obviously being a Big Mom pirate leader immediately means that we have access to one very specific card, and that is Big Mom herself. We have access to the 10 drop, and any deck that lets you play that 10 drop should immediately be considered at least playable, in my opinion. And I would say, yes, if you do manage to pull out your best cards, like if you get a good hand, you have probably the best chance of winning that game. There's not a ton of stuff that can stop you once you actually start getting your puddings out. And is this thing fine? I think we're fine. Sorry, I'm looking at stuff. But either way, unfortunately, pudding never really took off. Mostly because during this time in Japan, when Japan had access to pudding as the leader, they were basically stuck with Red Purple Law. Red Purple Law stunted the growth of a lot of potential leaders. And then once it finally came over to the West, it really didn't pick up legs because not a lot of people were brewing it to begin with, because everybody kind of already knew what was going to work in this existing set in set 8. So granted, there was a lot of valiant efforts. A lot of people did make this work. I think I'm going to toot my own horn. I think I like my list, and it's very fun. It's different, which is nice to see when you're making a One Piece deck, is seeing some different cards. And yeah, I think one of her biggest downfalls is that it's another one of those ride or die kind of decks. Like, if you're not going to be dropping 10 drops, you know, if you're not going to be dropping your big moms, you're not really doing a whole lot. All that ramping, all that life loss, you know, all the big bodies really doesn't amount to much if you don't have anything to play, which is what you're mostly doing. You're mostly just taking your life, you're drawing cards, you're trying to find your big mom just to play it, you know, on curve faster. even because obviously this deck ramps. Because let's go ahead and talk about the leader. Pudding is a 2-color leader, 5,000 power, 4k life, or 4 life, and it's a purple-yellow Big Mom Pirate. And it has, when attacking, you may turn the top 2 cards of your top. Okay, you may turn 2 cards from the top of your life cards face up, add up to 1 Dawn from your Dawn deck, and rest it. It's a good ability. It's nice to have both aggression and acceleration. Acceleration in the sense of being aggressive. So ramping and then being, keeping the aggression on. 2 good things in a leader. Unfortunately, Pudding only has 4 life, and you really need to like eat up your life, as we've seen in yellow, to really get advantage out of the game. So I think that's one of her biggest flaws, is just the fact that, well, she's a 4-life leader who really wants to draw cards, who's looking for like basically 1 card in her whole deck. Well, technically 4 cards, but yeah. Anyways, I like what I've done with the list. Another big issue is that she's very much a tempo deck. So by tempo, I mean she's basically just trying to drop 1 big character each turn. And unfortunately, control decks just love munching, just like, ooh, those are just tasty snacks for control decks. Like, obviously, like Lucci. What's another control deck? I mean, is Teach? I think Teach is a control deck. Outside of being an anti-meta deck, it is a control deck, I believe, because it is removing stuff. It does have access to cost minusing and KOing abilities. So if I had to say anything, hold on. Why are we crashing? Why is this making a big old fuss? I am not happy. What is this thing trying to do? Hello? Stupid. Okay. What is going on with this thing? Give me a moment. I don't know why it is crashing. Are we back? Hopefully we're back. This stupid thing. Close. Damn you. Don't want you active. Let's see if that fixes anything. No. Oh, maybe. Hello? Auto wall. Oh no. Click here to reload. Am I back? Hello? Hello, hello, hello. Sorry, I'm just doing a quick test. Okay. Everything looks fine. I think everything has kind of like equalized. Sorry about that. Didn't realize my internet was going out. If you didn't know, also it's raining outside as well, which is also probably not helping with the connection. But either way, we're not here about that. We're here about showing off, what am I rocking? Obviously rocking the Game Genic card sleeves, as we will leave Pudding over there. Then we have our Dawn. These are just basic Dawns. Unfortunately, Pudding didn't get any kind of special Dawn in her set, and she didn't get like a special, like unique to her Dawn from the premium booster box. And then for obviously, I have the Dragon Shield, purple, violet, well, more like lavender-ish color. I'm rocking the Mage Tech deck box, which of course comes with 2 plastic dividers. Highly recommend. We'll always be recommending them. As far as like One Piece stuff, I will recommend that stuff. So either way, let's finally look into the deck. After chewing your ear off for about 10 minutes or so, we will go ahead and look at the cards in this deck. And I will show you exactly what we're rocking here. I'm going to put them over here so it's not so in the way. No spoilers. So obviously, if you're going to be playing this deck, you're going to be playing our 1-cost Searcher. Sorry about the glare. I wanted to get better lighting. It doesn't seem like it's worked. It works really great down here, sort of, but unfortunately it's like really far away from the view of the camera. So I'm still working on the lighting. However, I feel like the lighting here is a little bit better. There's our Pudding. As you can see, Pudding is a 1/2 1k counter. On play, look at the top 4 cards at the top of your deck, reveal up to 1 Sanji or Big Mom Pirate type card other than Charlotte Pudding, and add it to your hand, then place the rest to the bottom of your deck rested. So Pudding, of course, we have our Searcher. This deck is actually like nearly like tribal specific. Like we have Sanjis and the majority of Sanjis and Big Mom Pirates in this deck, which I'm actually really happy I was able to build the deck in that way, where, you know, obviously Big Mom Pirates are pretty strong in their colors, and then there's a bunch of really good Sanji cards, and then a couple of like tech cards outside of the Big Mom Pirate archetype. Our next card, of course, is going to be Flampe. Flampe running at 4, 2k counter. We've talked about her in the past. Probably one of my favorite 2k counters. I mean, really good if you're just gonna, you know, throw caution to the wind and just draw your deck, or draw your life, technically. So it's a great, you know, 1/1 2k counter. I'll play. You may add the top card of your top or bottom card of your life. You may add up to 1 card from the top of your life. Sorry. Why is it so hard to read? Okay, on play, you may add 1 card from the top or bottom of your life cards to your hand. Draw 1 card. So it's a draw 2 card. You're drawing 1 from life. You're drawing, then you're drawing an extra card. And yeah, obviously Big Mom searchable. If you can't find your Big Mom, you pull this out. You know, depending on what you want to play, you know, this is usually your second target. And then our next one is once we start actually getting into like the spicy tech. We have Kazuki Hiyori. I've talked about this in the past in yellow decks, where I really don't see the reason not to play things like Hiyori, your 2k Hiyori, and your 0 cost event. And any deck that has yellow, being able to manipulate the bottom card of your life with a 0 cost event, you're the one who should disappear. Busted. No yellow deck should leave home without this tech of putting you're the one who should disappear at the bottom of your life. So we've talked about her in length about how good this card is. So it's just another 2k. I'm running it at 3 just because the deck is a little bit tight. So unfortunately, that had to take a seat back, dropping it to 3 instead of 4. And another 3 of is our Katakuri. Now, this is where it does start to splinter off a little more than normal. Where Charlie Katakuri is a card we haven't actually looked at before. Well, we've looked at back when we opened up the set. And I think it's a pretty good card. It's a very difficult card to really play out in the field. I tend to have an issue because a lot of times this does just end up sitting in my hand as a 1k counter. I think it also has a pretty tight restriction on the type of Dawn of when it could get played out. So Charlie Katakuri, this is, you know, Kid Curry, and it's a 2/3 1k counter. Activate main, you may trash this character. If your leader has the Big Mom Pirates type, play up to 1 Charlie Katakuri from your hand with a cost of 3 or more that is equal to or less than the number of Dawn cards on your opponent's field. So as you can see, that's where it starts to get a little funky, where obviously you can play the 6-drop Katakuri and then the 8-drop Katakuri. But of course, you have to be careful where if your opponent is not at 8 or 6, you basically just trash the character for no reason. In the best of times, you can, when you're at 10 Dawn, well, and your opponent is at 10 Dawn or 8 Dawn, doesn't matter what their Dawn is, as long as it's around 8, you can, on your 10 Dawn turn, you can play a Katakuri, a Kid Katakuri, to play a adult 8-drop Katakuri, and then you can play a second one from your hand, because that's a total of 10 Dawn, where an 8-drop, and then you're dropping a 2-drop to then sacrifice to play another 8-drop, which is super good. Like, it is unfortunate that it has such tight restrictions with Dawns and things like that. I can understand why, but that's why this is a 3 of. It's really tough in hand. The majority of the time, this is just sitting kind of dead in my hand, waiting for an 8-drop or waiting for my opponent to get to 8 Dawn to actually play it out. So that's the story behind that Katakuri, our original Katakuri, our Kid Katakuri. So our next card is the Baron, Tamago the Baron. Now, seeing this card immediately starts, you know, raising flags. Like, why are you playing this? This is a common, I think. It is. Why are you playing a common? Well, 1, it's a Big Mom Pirate, so it's searchable in this deck. 2, it's a blocker that isn't Viola, which I would say Viola could fit in this slot where Tamago is. However, Tamago has been pretty useful. When you don't have your main engine running, the egg engine is a really good backup engine. Waiting for your big moms to come out, you're just playing these as you wait for your big numbers to drop. And surprisingly, it does catch a couple of people off guard. It does end up being a good amount of pressure, so I think it's worth running. If you're gonna play an off meta deck, I think play off meta cards. So that's what I like about having Tamago in this list, is that he's very much an off meta deck or off meta card, something that just people aren't going to be playing. So let's read it and you'll understand why. So what does the Baron do? As soon as we get our focus, there we go. So the Baron is a 3/4 1k counter. He has blocker and on KO Dawn -1. Play up to 1 Viscount Hiyoko with a cost of 5 or less from your hand. So obviously this is you're gonna start to see the little engine run with the next card, because we're gonna have Hiyoko coming up next. But obviously what you want to do, what sucks about this is that if your opponent does end up using it, you are going to be Dawn minusing, which can then hurt your ramping. So I haven't found a way to work around that. There is the 3-drop pudding that does ramp you when you return Dawn, it does put Dawn back. So I've been thinking about putting that pudding in this deck where it lets you ramp back up to where you were. Again, I'm just having a hard time finding space for it. That's primarily what the issue with this deck is it's just finding the space to play the stuff you want. So, but Tamago is a great card. I really like having it. If your main engine is not running, it's a really good backup engine to rely on. So, speaking of which, let's talk about the actual Hiyoko. Hiyoko, our next Viscount Hiyoko. So once this is KO'd, you get to play one of these from your hand, I believe. It is from your hand. Yes, that's why we're running this at 4. Because we actually want to see this in our hand. These two are not, well, this and the chicken form are probably the least important. This is probably a little more important to have in hand, because again, if you're at 5 Dawn or 6 Dawn and you don't have anything to do, something nice to drop, and then this lets you fetch out the next card in the deck. And then of course, you know, this whole engine I think is worth running. So let's look at Hiyoko. Hiyoko is a 5/6 1k counter. Opponent's turn on KO can be kind of tough. Dawn -1 when this character is okay, here we go. Okay, so on KO Dawn -1, play up to 1 count Niwatori, Niwatori, there we go, with the cost of 6 or less from your deck, then shuffle your deck. So obviously when this gets KO Dawn -1, you get to play the next thing, the chicken man himself. And it's a great little engine, because also I believe the chicken man can also then play this from deck. Then you're running this whole, like, a literal engine is running through your deck. Like you're cycling cards out, you're playing cards. It's really good. I personally like this. I've been really excited to show this little engine, this little egg engine going, which now we'll talk about the chicken man. Dun dun dun. Count Niwatori. There we go. Count Niwatori is our final part of the egg engine, and it's a 6/7 1k count or 1k counter. Opponent's turn on KO Dawn -1. Play up to 1 Bond Tamago with a cost of 4 or less from your deck, then shuffle your deck. So there we go. There's our chicken engine, the egg engine. It's super fun. It's super quirky. It's it can be a little bit messy because it's on opponent's turn on KO. So unfortunately, they have to be KO'd on your opponent's turn, which means your opponent is either KOing them on their turn, or you know, your opponent is swinging into them, or you know, that kind of thing. Also KO, not trash or not bounced. So it can be worked around, but it is nice to have this going, because a lot of times, most of the time your opponent is just not really paying attention to these cards. Not a ton of people are playing against the egg engine, so they're not really expecting it. But it's really fun. Hopefully in the games we get, I can kind of show you this engine, but this is definitely backup engine. This is not main engine stuff. Main engine stuff is what we're gonna be looking at next, which arguably is just, you know, the bread and butter of pudding. So our next card is, as you would suspect, Katakuri the second. Our 6-drop Katakuri, who I think is a necessity in this deck. You really can't go wrong with this. Like, this is almost a mandatory 4 of in the pudding list. This and probably some other cards. Obviously the 10-drop is going to be mandatory, but let me read. Let me tell you, well, let me read it and tell you why this is a mandatory card. It plays really well into the strategy. So Charlie Katakuri is a 6/7 1k counter. On play, you may turn 1 card from the top of your deck, from top of your life cards face down, add it to 1 Dawn from your Dawn deck and set it as active. So this is baked in ramp into the pudding list, and it also starts to slowly turn your top card down. Obviously, if you start taking hits, then, you know, The idea is that you swing in, you turn the top 2, and then you take the next set, and then that second card that you flipped gets turned back down with this, which then lets you swing with this again. And then, you know, it's all kind of, it's really fun. I want to let you know it's really fun to flip your life, flip it back down, take cards, you know, take life, all of that kind of stuff. It's really fun. And getting to ramp and then your reward is a 10 drop Big Mom. Super good. All right, so our next card is another 6 drop. Something new, actually, something from a current set over here in the West, and that is Nico Robin, our Onion Woman. So from OP09, Nico Robin herself in her devil form. We don't really know much about it. I mean, it's probably an awakening, but we don't know because it's never been confirmed to be an awakening, but it's very likely an awakening. So Nico Robin is a 6/6 1k counter. On play, if your opponent has 3 or more life cards, trash up to 1 card from the top of their opponent's life, of the top of your opponent's life. So early enough, if you ramp fast enough and you're not super aggressive to your opponent, you can trash their top life. This ends up doing a lot more damage than most of this other stuff here, unfortunately, is how it goes. We're running her at 3 just because, again, super tight list, but I'm glad I can run it at 3. Really great fit into the deck. Nico Robin, great card. Love this one. I managed to get 2 alt arts for my Yamato deck, so glad I was able to do that. And then it has a trigger of play up to 1 yellow character with a cost of 3 or less from your hand. As you can tell, no 3 costs yellow cards, so never going to be triggering this, but we'll keep it in hand. And if we're past the point of needing to use this ability, like let's say our opponent's at 2 life, 3 or more life. So yeah, if your opponent's at 2 life, then you could just either you can play it, but honestly probably just save it for a 1k counter in hand if your opponent is past 3 life. So our next one is gonna be another 2k, and it's gonna be a Sanji. Dun dun. It's our 2k Sanji blocker. Great card. A little overpriced for what it is. What's nice is that it's just searchable with pudding. Also, occasionally, honestly, almost never. You're never really going to be paying the 3 for a blocker. This will primarily be a 6 cost blocker. You're never really going to be below your opponent's Dawn ramping, so you won't be able to play this out. But I will read it and you'll understand why. So, Sanji is a 6/6 2k counter, and if the number of Dawn on your field is less than 2 than the number of your opponent's field, give this character in your hand -3 cost. Nice. So, and then it has blocker. So obviously we're not Dawn minusing enough to really get the cost, you know, the cost reduction. Possibly with the egg engine, we might be able to do it once, but realistically, it's mostly just a 2k counter that is searchable with pudding. So that's how I use it, and it's been useful like that. However, our next card is still searchable, and I think arguably still more useful, is our actual 7 cost Sanji. So this Sanji, I think, is like almost like the perfect little card for you know, most purple decks. You know, it has everything purple wants to do. It has Dawn minusing, it has rush, and it has draw power baked into it, the whole thing. Plus it has a 1k counter. Like, you really can't go much better than this. This is one of those cards that were probably tuned a little too hard. However, it's at the right levels. I feel like they tuned this one just perfectly with this Sanji. So Sanji, obviously searchable with pudding. It is a 7/7 1k counter. On play, may return 1 or more Dawn cards from your Dawn deck. This character gains rush during this turn, then rest up to one of your opponent's 6 drops, or 6 or less. So obviously, on play, you can Dawn -1, which is nice because you don't have to go past 1 Dawn minusing. It gains rush, and then it rests a 6 or less, which I was getting this one confused with the Luffy. Luffy lets you draw. This one lets you rest a 6 drop. So obviously this is a very aggressive card. Very reminiscent of Hody Jones. So, and it's also Straw Hat searchable, which is why it's in so many Straw Hat decks, just as much as this one. These 2 Sanjis are played in most Straw Hat engines, which, you know, understandable why. There's some of the best ones you can get in purple. Our next card to complement the Katakuri engine, which, surprise, surprise, there's like 3 engines. This card's got a lot of engines in it, and surprisingly, I think it works. I think it's all pretty cohesive. However, once we actually start getting into some games, maybe that'll be a counterpoint. Maybe the games we get into contradict me, but we'll have to see and find out. So our next one is Katakuri, the 8-drop Katakuri. We're playing this at 4. In a Big Mom Pirate deck, there really is no reason to drop below 4. It is searchable, it's a big body, and it is like removal, healing. It's a good jack of all trades. And obviously this is the premium Bandai, or the premium booster one, where it has like subtle texturing in the card and the art, which I didn't know was a thing. I thought this is how the card was sold originally. However, I've been told that the original set 3 one didn't have the texturing. So very cool to find out that they added a little bit of texturing to this. So let's read the card. I think we talked about it. So it's an 8/8, 0 counter. On play, add up to 1 character with a cost of 8 or less to the top or bottom of its owner's life cards face up. So clearly this is old school. This guy's old school. He's back in set 3, I believe. Yeah, OPO 3. And he's a really good counter to the 7-drop green kid, which is obviously basically a big ass blocker that you have to hit into. So this was like a great counter to that card. 7-drop kid is making a return to the meta, so I have a feeling these are going to start showing up a little more in the wild. And obviously still searchable with pudding, playable with Katakuri, with the kid Katakuri, and overall just a badass guy. Like as you know, I have the alt of this card, but honestly the art of this, of the normal printing, is still like top tier. So still probably one of my favorite cards in One Piece in general. Both the base rarity and alt art, both alt arts are just great cards to have. And then let us roll it out for the queen of Whole Cake Island, Charlotte Linlin, Big Mom herself, the bad bitch, the girl boss of all girl bosses. Charlotte Linlin is our boss monster and the key to our engine, the key to this whole deck actually winning games. If you're not playing your Big Moms on curve, you're not doing much, unfortunately. And the way I built this deck is to try to like not need Big Mom, but even then, even with all this support, this is still the card you want. And it's unfortunate because you can't build against Big Mom. If you're a Big Mom pirate or leader, you're gonna end up playing this card. So despite all of this in here, this is still what you want. So let's find out why. This is a 10/12, no counter. On play, if your leader has the Big Mom Pirates type, add up to 1 card from the top of your deck to the top of your life. Then trash up to 1 character. No, trash up to 1 card from the top of your opponent's life cards. So obviously this is probably one of the strongest abilities in the game still. And this is back in set 3, I believe. Yeah. Set 3, and it's a secret? Super. It's a super rare. So I believe the Katakuri was a lot harder to pull than it was to pull a Big Mom. So if you don't have Big Mom, I would just recommend buying this playset. These are like, I think $10 still. Still great, even if you never plan on playing a Big Mom pirate. Still great to have, probably the strongest 10k in the game. I still think that this is still probably one of the strongest ones, one of the strongest boss monsters you can play in this game. Which is why everybody thought this deck was going to be meta, because this was going to ramp into 10-drop, and then it just never did. It just never could top, unfortunately. So super good. You get to run at a low life total and never be punished with Big Mom. Your opponent, no matter at what point in the game, they're gonna end up taking life. So they really can't like be fortified with their high life count. They're eventually gonna get knocked down with Big Mom and potentially Robin. And our last card actually is, of course, our 0 cost event. You're the one who should disappear. This, I think, like I said at the start of this is a stable in any yellow deck. Any deck that has yellow in it should be at the minimum playing like a 2-2 ratio of these, like a minimum at least. Like I have like cheated games playing a Hiyori into a you're the one who should disappear. it's basically an extra turn play. It's like the what is it, time lock? Just gives yourself an extra turn, like the Gear 5th Luffy. Super fun. I like this deck a lot, and it's probably not the strongest version of this list, but I like it a lot. I think with the A engine, I think it really does make it my own, and most pudding lists aren't playing the Katakuri engine in here. Well, specifically these two cards. They've all kind of moved away from this stuff and gone more for the value of yellow in the deck, which at that, oh, sorry, my headphones scared the shit out of me. The battery's slowly dying. But yeah, if you're gonna be playing like generic yellow stuff, I would honestly just say, you know, drop the purple and just play like Lin, the leader Lin, or play Katakuri, or just play Eustace Kid, which is coming out relatively soon. But yeah, there's the list. Everything is here. I have played this deck a handful of times. I've been cooking with this for a little bit, and the games I played have been relatively smooth. I've bricked up a couple of times. It happens. But overall, I feel like I get to do the thing once every game. I at least get to do the thing every other game, I think. Which is, doing the thing is either you're playing the egg engine, you're playing the Katakuri engine, or you're playing the Big Mom. So at any point in the game, I'm doing my thing. I think that's a great way of describing pudding in this. Pudding is literally the I'm gonna do my own thing. No, you know, no thanks, I'm doing my thing kind of mentality. Which is unfortunate because I feel like in the game of One Piece, you really have to be paying attention to what your opponent's doing. You can't just be ignoring their board and just, you know, trying to play Big Mom. However, that's kind of how I play this deck is, you know, I'm just gonna, you know, ramp, I'm gonna take life, and I'm just gonna play my big boys. And it's a little bit freeing. It's a very casual deck, I would say, which is why everything is like base rarity. I've made the commitment not to alt out this deck, just because I want to keep it like a locals deck, which also explains the Dawn, but I want to get nice Dawn for pudding. I just don't know what kind of Dawn I want to get yet. I haven't figured that part out. If they end up making something that I like, I'll get it. If I end up finding maybe some fan art, or if I get a commission, I'll maybe do that of some Dawn, I'm sure. But either way, we are gonna boot up the simulator for a little bit. Probably play like at least what, maybe two, 3 games, about 30 minutes worth of games of searching and playing, and we'll see what happens. We'll jump. Well, no, I think we'll play in OPO 10, because in OPO 10, I'm trying to remember what is in OPO 10 for purple and for yellow. It's primarily the Big Mom, or no, Supernova. Supernova is the big thing, which is why Eustace Kid and Law are getting a lot of attention in the simulator. Just because, like, oh man, they're the new big dogs on the sim. People want to, you know, test it out, see what's up. So, I don't think any of those cards can fit in this list. What is purple? Purple, I think, is the Doflamingo family? Is it? I think it is. I think purple side is Doflamingo, or, you know, the sugar support. So I don't think we're getting support for this list. Supposedly, well, it looks like in OPO 11, it's gonna be a return to Whole Cake Island. So far with the spoilers, we haven't really seen any support for pudding in the spoilers. However, like, spoilers are just starting to happen, so, you know, can't really, you know, judge it based off of what we've seen so far. But yeah, I still think like this deck is going to be basically set in stone for quite a while. I like the way it plays. I don't see the need to change what's in here. And yeah, all right. So I feel like I have shuffled enough. I like how this stayed on the top the entire time. That's very silly. All right, I'll be shuffling this every so often. So obviously, next game I play, I'm going to end up shuffling it anyway, so it's not a big deal. Come on. Get back in, you heathens. There we go. And then we'll put these away. And then we'll jump into some games without bending the hell out of my cards. Boom. There we go. Grab our pudding. lock her away, seal her away into the white box forever, into her cube. All right, let us get the simulator loaded. I will say goodbye. Say goodbye to the real hands. Ooh, goodbye. Wee. And then we'll get the simulator up and going. Oh, this is a very strange resolution. Why did you open up like that? All right. Do that. Give me but a moment. One moment, please, as we wait for this to boot up. As I enjoy my tea. We'll go ahead and get our face pushed in for a little while. Also, I'll just do my little heads up, my little warnings, or what are they called? My pre-game chat. So, what do I mean by that? What I mean is, well, I'm going to give you all the what is it, like disclaimers, that's what it is. So, disclaimers. I like One Piece. Why is it always like this? This game hates me. I hate how my capture window is just ass. Stupid capture window. So, obviously, what was I saying? I was saying how be aware that I know how to play the game. Mistakes will be made. Opponents will make mistakes. I will make mistakes. So do not hold it against us. We're just here to chill. We're here to vibe. We're here to look at the deck. And we're here to just give you like a taste of what you can expect. What are we mostly looking at? What we're mostly looking at is kind of the flow. Here's the deck list. It should be exactly the same. So we will take that into East. We'll switch from Garp. Man, I haven't played a lot since that little Garp grind. So it's been a hot minute for me. But yeah, no coaching needed. I can play the game. Please be nice to the opponents. Obviously, if they're making bad plays, you know, obviously we're not gonna make fun of them for it, or we're not gonna call them out. I don't know, what other disclaimers can I give? Just relax, enjoy the show. You know, that's my thing. I just want you to relax, enjoy the show, forget about your troubles, and let me lose a couple of games for you, if anything. Oh no, am I having issues? I think I might be having issues. Oh no, this is bad. There seems to be only one guy in here. What was his name? Okay, he's not there anymore. Let me see. I could be having issues with my connection. It's not looking good. I'm not exactly sure why. I'm not liking where this is going. Let me try booting up the game again. Because that definitely shouldn't be happening. However, I've been having issues. Well, I'm having issues during this stream, so we could have an issue here. I will just try to boot it up again. And make sure it's getting captured. We good? Yeah, okay, that's being captured. Let's try again and see what happens. We'll give it a few more shots. If I see like the opponent's board not loading in, that definitely means there's an issue going on. And it's probably one that I can't fix right now because I don't know what the issue is, unfortunately. I'm hoping with like the reopening the game, it'll kind of bring everything back. Honestly, I didn't even see what deck I came in with. We'll find out as soon as we get loaded in. Actually, no, let me make sure I'm actually on the right deck. Yeah, okay, we're on the right deck. Just gonna wait and see if someone shows up and if we can actually play a game. It'd be very unfortunate if we couldn't. Oh man. It is request timed out. Please check the help button in the main screen. I'm not liking where this is going. I'm wondering if the rainstorm is causing issues. Because I think it was the weather was causing me problems a little earlier when we had lag. So let's do another quick join. And we'll see what happens. It's not a good sign. I don't like this. I wonder what's happening. I'm thinking what I want to do here. We could try a solo, like a demo duel, like a solo play. I don't like the sound of that, man. But maybe just to show hands, like just to show kind of like what the hands look like. I think we'll do just like we'll do one solo play. It won't be serious, obviously, but I do want to at least show you what you potentially could do. I don't really have anything. I don't have any of these decks updated to OPO 10. Guess we could do Yamato. Just to kind of show you like what you can expect to see. So obviously right here we have our searcher, so we're going to end up keeping this. We're going to just force our opponent to keep that. And let us go searching for that big mom, which we immediately got. So that was a really good top search. And here, there's nothing we can do. So we're just going to end the turn there. Pass it back. At 3 Dawn, what are we doing for 3? At 3, what we're going to end up doing is probably just swinging in. I think we swing in for 2. Use card action. So, wow, what a terrible top deck. And then, does our opponent want to counter out of this? No. Our opponent would take life. And then, to help us, actually, we shouldn't really... Because we don't have our Katakuri here anywhere, we really shouldn't be playing our pudding, because we really don't know if we're going to get what we want. So at 4, we can do a Hiyori into either a Momonosuke or a Yamato. A Yamato is technically better. So let us see if we can get an answer. And we're going to answer by... Actually, we'll trash the searcher. So we got what we wanted. We'll deploy. Trash. Play Yamato. And then end the turn. So we didn't draw our Katakuri, which does happen. It's not the end of the world. So, which is why we have things like the egg engine. So we have something we can do, which would end up just being, you know, play this, swing, waste the counter in their hand. Do that. 6 Dawn. Let's see. Unfortunate that we don't have a searcher here. We want to rest anything. It's 4 or less. No, we can't really rest. We could play just Kiku out. So what we can do... We need 3k. Trash this. And then at 4, we could play out Kiku. Or we can try to swing in. Probably just play out Kiku. End up drawing these 2. Alright. There we go. At 8. Do we go searching for our Katakuri? No, because at this point we can play Katakuri. So we can throw probably this at the bottom of the life, or we can heal ourselves, but we won't need to because we're gonna have Lin Lin coming out. So we're just gonna add that to the bottom, and then swing in. We have 3k to give up. Not really. We don't have 3K to give up. We could save it. Actually, maybe we should. Let's try to save it. It's a little unfortunate. Swing. Use card action. You see, here's also one of the issues with our pudding list is the fact that we can sometimes just brick really hard in our life, not really get anything worth triggering. So let's move on. We're at 8 Dawn. How desperate are we? We could play out a Hody Jones. Gives us 1 Dawn to attach things, or we can play out our Momonosuke. However, Momo is not really going to be able to heal us because we have Yamato out. We want to use Yamato as an attacker, ideally. I think the good call would be to do this and not select the target. Swing at life. Let's see. We need 4K. 2, 4. We'll drop. Which egg do we want to drop? I think we'll drop this egg. Okay. Yeah, alright. So now we're at 10 Dawn. We're literally just gonna start doing our thing. There we go. Just get rid of this. Definitely won't be able to save that. Or we could throw our blocker at it. That would be fine too. Throw our egg at it. Don't have 3K. Well, no. And then, of course, swing in. Drop that. So we're at 10. We could go do a Hail Mary and try to keep a Zoro. No, this would be lost for Yamato. So just take that. Oh yeah, that's right. Double strike. So there's our kid, or our Katakuri. That's where he ended up being. You really want to see this card when you're ramping out. If you don't see it when you're ramping out, it's just going to be a 1K in hand. So, yep. Take this out, and then pray our opponent cannot deal with it. Ideally, we're just going to drop another one. Gain 1, crash opponents. Ooh, lost a 10K. That sucks. Or a 2K counter. We have no counter out either. Sure. And that's game. There you go. Really bad example. You know, fighting yourself, I think you can get good practice out of fighting yourself on the simulator. You can get like good examples of what your hands are, get a good example of what your curve might look like, and obviously you can get a good example of what your life looks like. So while fighting against yourself isn't really good for like in-game practice, like your opponent is obviously going to be doing different things. Your opponent doesn't have access to your hand, but against yourself, you're mostly just testing out the curve. You're testing out the plays. You're seeing if you're going to make some misplays and stuff like that. That's primarily how I do trials for these decks. Like if I'm making a deck, this is usually how I'm testing them out. Is I would test them out here, then I'll bring them, then I'll fight my brother, then I'll do the simulator stuff, then I'll bring it to locals after I've had extensive training with it. So yeah, there you go. Unfortunately we couldn't get a match. There seems to be an issue on my end with the connection to the servers, so that's womp womp on my end, but at least you got to see what the deck does, even if it was like basically practicing against a dummy. AKA me, I'm the dummy. You get the joke. Hopefully that gives you a good example, a good idea of like how you want to play the pudding deck and what the advantages are playing it the way I have it. It's not going to win you any tournaments. Like you're not going to be winning the regionals or nationals with this list, but I think at locals you can give people a run for their money. for not that much money, which is nice. You'll get a couple of winter packs. So I feel pretty confident in this deck. I don't think it's going to be upgraded anytime soon. Speaking of which, I want to see some of these yellow cards, some of the new ones. And I also want to see the purple ones once it's all loaded. Because I want to see if I can make any like meaningful upgrades. Like I said, this is a tight list already, so I'm not too thrilled about making changes to it. I am curious though if there's anything that is coming out that could potentially help. No, that's leader locked. Leader locked. No. You may risk one Dawn. One of your Dawn this character. No, that's a searcher. No. 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 No, that's not gonna be useful in the pudding list. Interesting. I mean, very interesting. I don't think I even have anything that could fit in this. Well, I mean, this and this fit in that category, but that's about it. Let's see if this is any good. If this Doflamingo, I mean, for an 8 drop, you better do something. Play 1/5 costs or lower. Pirate. Okay, no. Nah, that's not the greatest. 5/6. It's a draw. All right, trash an event, draw a card. Again, really good in the Doflamingo deck. I don't know if about in like a pudding list. Here's Foxy again. What do you do, Foxy? It's your 2K counter. You may trash this card if you have less on the field than your opponent. Draw 1 card. I mean, again, decent card. You know, not a great character. Oh, I really love this baby 5. Holy moly, that's a really nice art of her. Wow. You may discard 1 card from your hand if your leader has a type donkey. Oh, your leader locked. No, please. Marry me. Bellamere. Bellamere, what are you doing? No. That's definitely not what we're doing here. Alright, so yeah. It was primarily just putting support. Doflamingo support. What are we doing in yellow? I know it's Supernova stuff, but how much of it can I actually pay attention to? Because I really like this. This law has been super useful for a lot of people. I believe it just has reveal a Supernova card from your hand, add up to 1. Add it to the top of your life cards face down, then if your leader is Supernova. So it's basically just a heal 1. It's good. I know X-Drake is really good. I've seen this in a lot of decks. It's Navy searchable and Supernova searchable, which I would expect. Rest this character, the number of your life cards is less than or equal to the number of your opponent's life cards. Rest up to one of your opponent's characters with a cost of 4 less. It's great. It's good. I like this. I don't know what I would even kept for that, if I had to be completely honest. Like, don't know. And then obviously I think this kid is probably the primary target. Like, these are definitely the 2 cards that people are looking at in generic yellow engines. So on play, rest this character, trash up to one of your opponent's top of their life cards. And then this one is on KO, trash up to one of your opponent's life cards, top of your opponent's life cards. These are just generically good. I would actually really like to fit these 2 in the list. And then there's the 1 drop blocker with counter. I think this is busted. Crazy that they even made that. To your hand, you may place up to 1 5 cost or lower Supernova type card from your hand to the top of your life face up. There's a vanilla. There is killer. Supernova locked. Supernova locked. Supernova locked. Oh. Uh-oh. I think our time here is done. Hang on, give me a moment. Sorry. It's gonna be quiet for a split second. Well, actually probably for about a minute. Hang on, I gotta plug in headphones. My deck just died on me. Wow. There we go. Music? No. Come back, music. One moment, please. There we go. Music is back. Sorry about that. So, yeah, hold on. Hello? Properties? Are you default? There we go. Everything's back to normal now. We can continue. But yeah, here it's a Ivankov, Revolutionary Army, Vanilla, Inizuma. I don't know what you do. Opponents is 5 or less. K up to one of your opponents. Okay, nah. Oh yeah, okay. Now we're getting to. Okay, so like realistically, it's either going to be Kid or it's going to be Hawkins. I'd actually really like to add those 3, because then we have a Hawkins, Robin, and then Kid. We can cut the Katakuri engine, these 2. Add these 2. That would end up being what the list looks like for OPO 10. I think I don't like it. I would prefer the previous list, just because, you know, cutting the Katakuri engine doesn't feel great. However, this is technically a much more aggressive list where you're going from, I mean, you don't even really have a 2-drop to play. Your 2-drop, basically your Searcher or your 2K counter Flampe. You're basically going from Hawkins to Robin to Kid and then to Big Mom, which that's primarily a yellow engine, which then at that point, you know, why don't you just play Katakuri? If you're just going to do that, you know, might as well just drop the whole purple engine, drop the leader, and just play either Lin Lin or play Katakuri. Arguably, it would be much better like this. But unfortunately, I'm going to keep the list like this. I think this works out a lot better, at least for my playstyle. And yeah, I think now we're going to go ahead and just end things and wrap it up. Thank you guys for joining me today. It has been quite the adventure. I really wish I could have been able to play. Unfortunately, I couldn't. You know, this is how the dice roll sometimes. Sometimes the simulator will let me play. Sometimes I'll have some kind of issue and I won't be able to play. But, you know, it is what it is. At least I got to show you what the deck does as like a play example of what we're doing here. And we got to look at OPO 10. So that was a nice little bonus. Granted, we only got to look at 2 colors, but, you know, at least we got to see the purple pool of cards. We got to see the yellow pool of cards. We got to see that most of it is leader locked, technically, or type locked, technically. I like the idea of the Hawkins kit engine being added in. Maybe cut the egg engine for them. That might end up being a lot better. You know, you cut the blocker for Viola. You cut the other 2 chickens for the Supernova engine, and actually that probably is a much better decision. But then again, I come to the conclusion where it's like, well, if you're going to do that, why not just make it a mono yellow deck instead of, you know, what it is, which is a purple yellow list. And I think I did a good job mixing the 2 colors in, playing with the intended cards, like the cards that were intended for the deck, and in theory getting good results. As you saw, like with our practice game, we were able to win it, but then again, you know, our Yamato bricked up, really didn't have the greatest start. And yeah. Anyways, let's go ahead and end things here. All right, I'm locking the shop up. Thank you for joining me. I hope you enjoyed the pudding list. I really like pudding. The deck is really fun to play. I love playing big dumb bodies that are very oppressive to your opponent. It's super fun. However, whenever you don't draw the pieces you need, like a lot of times you just don't draw the 6-drop Katakuri, you don't draw the 10-drop, you never find your 10 drops, and then the deck just bricks. Like it would literally fall to pieces. The egg engine kind of mitigates some of that, but honestly, at the end of the day, you want to be playing your Big Mom like 2 turns ahead, which is always fun. Like 4-drop, turn 4, 10-drop Big Mom is what you want. Like that is the dream. Every game, that's the dream. But yeah, all right. Thank you so much for joining me today. I will go ahead and leave you here. And next week we will be playing more Pokemon. I haven't grinded or anything. So I think I might end up grinding in a few days. I'll grind to get to a higher level so we don't have an issue fighting the next leader. And yeah, all right. I'll catch you guys later. So goodbye. Bye 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 bye